And I might just use an email from John Savage here, which is one of the talking points leading up to the Gold Cup, and it involves the horse who's at the top of the market, or just about. And John says, is there something amiss with presenting Percy? Hard to believe he's going straight from last year's RSA to the Gold Cup in chasing terms. It is conceivable that connections are concerned about equine flu and are keeping clear of racecourses until their big day in the Cotswolds. It's just John musing. But regardless of his musings, clearly there is a school of thought that finds, in racing, that finds it hard to believe that the potential Gold Cup winner will have his first start over fences in the toughest, for my money, and the best race of the season.
Media are short in stories. That's the way I feel about this. I mean, so what? Like, go back to his prep for the RSA last year. An open 3.5 mile handicap chase, the Galmoy hurdle, and what the Red Mills in Gorham Park. The only reason no horse has done it is because, you know, horse people are sticklers for tradition, and they're running certain programs and whatnot. And like, I think back a couple of years ago to, I think, Don Poley winning the RSA. Oh, no horse who hasn't run in the calendar year has won the RSA. He can't win the RSA. Like, in his own right, presenting Percy is an outstanding horse. Okay, he's been to Cheltenham Festival twice, and he's walked into the Winners' Enclosure twice. He's went and shown he's got a pulse in the Galmoy, and he's won that very well. What more do we really need? Like the horse will get there 100% fit. The horse won't lack. He'll have seen fences before. He won't lack for schooling or won't lack for preparation. Pat Kelly is a genius of a trainer. I mean, I can't state enough of just how good he is. And people in Irish racing will think back to the 90s, the likes of No Tag and Natalie's Fancy. He won back-to-back Galway hurdles in 94, 95, I think it was. And I used the phrase before that No Tag was backed like we were about to watch the replay of the race. Like, this guy's ability to prep a horse and get him there is outstanding. If the horse is good enough, his prep won't stop him. And I think the horse is good enough, being realistic about it. I do think he's 3-1 best price now, and we were talking about this earlier on. If you want to back him, don't back him yet, because I really believe that this horse is going to be a minimum of 5-1 on the day.
What has he done? Just, you say he's good enough. What has he done in his career so far that says he's good enough in terms of black and white form?
Well, okay, he beat the Red Mills winner last year, didn't he? In Monalee, that form's looking pretty strong. The RSA form, Elegant Escape was in there.
A Gold Cup winner. I'm talking, Native River is 92.
But every horse always goes into the unknown at some stage.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
This is his walk into the unknown.
Can I give you something on that? Presenting Percy, positives would be the shortest price novice or second season chaser are 8 from 19 this century, a profit and loss of 40.5. The horses stepping into the unknown, they can be under bet at the festival.
Okay.
That is the right profile of a horse. That's why I was against Native River last year as a horse who tried and failed before.
Yeah.
But I think that was different last year. You know, it was run on very testing ground. Fresh horses, or horses with one run, have come good at a Gold Cup before. Bob's Worth has done it. Native River did it last year, although they did have a run over fences.
Yes.
There was a horse in the 20s who had a track over hurdles. But, I mean, it's uncharacteristic. But we've got to build that in at some point, haven't we? We've got to be able to build in what this trainer in particular has done. And just lastly on him, if they were worried about anything, if they were concerned about presenting Percy, wouldn't they still be declaring the horse and then pulling it if something wasn't quite right? They're saying, we're not going to run because we don't need to, we don't feel we need to. I don't think they're panicking.
The biggest unknown potentially is what the ground is on the day. Or the biggest uncertainty, I should say, not the unknown, but because he's not been running with the ground, and the ground is particularly quick in Ireland at the moment, with no rain there all winter.
But if it was soft, it would suit this horse, Native River. But
has he not been inconvenienced by the equine flu situation that he was supposed to run at Newbury, Native River, and didn't?
But personally, I don't. Given that he only had one run last year at Newbury before going on to the Gold Cup, I don't think they'll be unduly concerned. If they wanted to get another run into him for any fitness reason, they would have just run him at Ascot, even though it wasn't the right way around he wants to go. So I don't think that's a concern. I think the biggest concern is, look, he's not likely necessarily, not that I can predict the weather, but to get those sorts of conditions again.
Okay.
Look, you know, exceptional horses win dual Gold Cups. Not to say he's not necessarily, but I think it's hard to back any horse to do that, particularly when you've got a horse like Presenting Percy has the right sort of profile for
Speaking of
it.
exceptional horses, only one horse in recent times, last 30 years, has managed to, well, since the running of the Denman Chase, or what used to be the Aon Chase, has won the King George, the Denman Chase, and the Gold Cup in the same season. Only one horse has done that, and that, of course, was the greatest of the modern times in Courtauld Star. Clan des Obeaux is trying to do the same, and he is the same age as Courtauld Star, but he comes into the race with far less seemingly respect than Courtauld Star. I know he's at the top of the market, but there are more doubts people seem to think about this horse given what he's done this season.
He's achieved a lot more than Presenting Percy has, and he's now a tiny bit shorter on the exchanges. Just watch him here, though. The point I wanted to make with this was he does go to his right. These are the 4 at Ascot down the back before you turn from home. He's gone right at the first of them down the back. He edges right at that fence again there. He does it at the next, and not so much at the 4th before they turn for home. But I spoke to Paul Nicholls and Harry Cobden after he won the King George and asked about, look how right he goes there, and asked about him going right-handed. Harry Cobden said after the race it would be a slight concern. Paul Nicholls said, I would prefer him going right-handed, but I think you can get away with it. Given that he said he just tends to go a bit right at his obstacles. He had done at Haydock. Now, they have every right. I love this horse. They have every right to be really positive about him, given his profile. He's a horse who's stepping up in trip into the unknown. That's a good thing for a Gold Cup, particularly on decent ground. Horses with this sort of profile, I think, can be underbet. You can't crab his stamina for the race, I don't think. But I just still have a niggle about him going that way round. If he does edge right at some of his fences, I don't think that's ideal. I'm not saying he's not going to win it. I just can't say it's ideal. It's just a slight niggle I have in a race like the Gold Cup. I think everything's got to be perfect, and that for me is a slight negative. Interestingly, on the second circuit, when Harry Cobden switched him inside, he changed his position. He against the rail, he jumped much straighter, but there was still that little bit of going right, which is just a niggling thing at the back of my head, which isn't quite perfect for him, and that's my doubt.
Noel, what are your thoughts on what Clan des Obeaux has done this season, and do you feel that now, finally, after what he did last weekend, that he's now been heralded in the manner that he deserves to be?
Obviously, in terms of the performances he's put in this year, they've been exceptional. I can't get away from the jumping highlight which Tom gave us there a couple of minutes ago, and obviously I had a little chuckle when we said, oh, Paul Nicholls said he's not too concerned about it. Well, he's the one selling the tickets, you know, he's not supposed to be concerned. But you can't get away from the fact that he jumps right-handed. You need everything to go your way to win a championship race at the festival, and if you're jumping right-handed, you're forfeiting some bit of distance at every fence. So the first question you ask yourself is he good? Is he the best horse in the race? Well, we don't know, but he may well be. And then can you give up 8 lengths to them by losing a half length at every fence? So for me, it's a no on balance. The horse is incredibly talented. If it was run right-handed around Kempton, I think he'd win. Yeah, but it's not, and I just think on that basis alone, with the question mark over his jumping habit, we've seen it with York Hill before and plenty of other horses. It's just so hard in a championship race like this to be able to concede anything and still be victorious.
I still think of what he's done this year, he absolutely deserves to be, as he is now on the exchange, heading the betting. I mean, he's won a King George and a race that we went into saying this could be one of the best renewals of the King George in the last 5 years, and then off the back of it saying, well, Clan des Obeaux won it. How is it? Was it that good a King George? It was. It was a top-notch King George.
Interestingly, if there's a horse to take from the King George, if we say Clan des Obeaux was obviously suited by the King George, Thistlecrack ran a very admirable race there. And he's now going back to Cheltenham, which will play to his strengths more than it will play to Clan des Obeaux. He's a bit of a forgotten horse, but again, talk about has he got the ability? Yeah, I think he has.
But he can't. But he's not quite where he was, is he? When he went back to his King George win, he's just not. But he's not quite there.
He's not there. But I thought, personally, I thought the last day he was showing the signs of getting there. You know what I mean? He hadn't put in that performance like we would have seen in the Stairs Hurdles, for example, or even in his King George, but he was certainly showing I'm on the road back here. And if the last day is a stepping stone back towards, you know, the top level, then it was a pretty reasonable stepping stone. Okay, listen, they're not missing him in the market. He's 10 or 11 to 1, you know, which is probably the price he needs to be if we were to consider having a bet on him. But like, it goes back to similar to what we said in the Champion Hurdle. There's considerable depth in this here. I mean, if any of those horses on that screen are to win it, we wouldn't necessarily be all that surprised.
What about Camboy, Bellshill and Alboom Photo? Which of that Mullins trio is the pick.
I would be shocked if Bellshill is not the clear pick of them. Kemboy obviously benefited from a very astute ride by David Mullins the last day. Obeaux Frodon, for all that he has lots of ability, the reality is that he beat Total Recall the last day, when Total Recall needs further and also needs to go left-handed. And he was running around 2 mile 5 going right-handed in Tremor. So everything played to Obeaux Frodon's strengths that day. So he needs to step up. Bellshill, on the other hand, very, very rock-solid performer. Obviously won the Irish Gold Cup last time out in a fascinating, if small field race. He was winning an Irish National last year off Top of Italy. Somebody caught his eye in the stands, or something obviously went amiss. But he's been a very solid performer at this sort of a grade over this sort of a trip. We know he won Shirk, the challenge of 3, 2.5 around there. He was heading for home in the Irish Grand National last year. He's in that bracket. You know, we're not sitting here saying, yeah, he's a clear pick. He's not, but he's a very significant contender is the way I would look at it, and I would have him as the best of Willies.
Okay. Is Mike Byte a busted flush, Tom?
I couldn't... Well, he was beaten in the race last year, fair and square. I know that better ground would have suited. I'm not saying he would have definitely won. But it's very difficult, I think, to see him featuring again this year off the back of what he's done, or really what he hasn't done this season. It was so disappointing last time to go back to Kempton, the scene of his career best so far, and really not show up. So
has he had wind surgery?
Yes, I think he's had a procedure done. But it was. I think it's a tall order to ask. The difficult thing with Mike Byte is you quite often see horses that finish either first or second in a Gold Cup, and you say that they're never quite the same again off the back of it. Well, take out Aintree, and you could use that argument for Mike Byte. But my goodness, he was good at Aintree, and then this year it just I'm not sure he was in love with the game when we saw him last time. I'm not going to blame necessarily the fences at Haydock, which to have started that, but. He was a horse that went without zest, and that would worry me coming back to a Gold Cup.
Would you... this might sound absolutely ridiculous, so I'm happy for anybody to shoot me down on this, but the performance that Mike Byte put up at Kempton when he fell in the Novice Chase handicap a few years ago, the one when he won the RSA, beating Whisper, running around like a madman in the closing stages... couple of the best performances of the horse. Those are two fantastic performances on the figures of all the horses in the race. And if he was a horse that was suffering with a serious ailment that prevented him from breathing in a top-class race like the King George and in the Betfair at Haydock, could it be possible that on ground that he will relish, that he could be of interest? Could you make a case, or am I just talking absolute gibberish?
I think he's the worst 14-to-1 shot at the festival. I like.
Does that answer your question?
No, but
you could have just said you're talking absolute gibberish.
No, but Tom touched on a very interesting point. Mike Byte is by Scorpion, okay, who are known to have fantastically fragile minds as racehorses.
I still remember he ducked into the rail in the Ledger, didn't he?
Yeah, Frankie rode him. Yeah.
He was wayward.
He Scorpion gets some really good horses. Mike Byte is a case in point, obviously, but they're very fragile. And when they reach a point in their career, some of them, and they just go, you know what? I'm getting fed 3 times a day. Doesn't matter what I do in the racetrack. So I'm quite happy here. And he didn't look.
He wrote that comment.
He didn't look in love the last day. And I just think I'm thinking of another horse. Tellers Moore was another really high class novice Scorpion that just one day decided, you know what, guys, I've had enough. And Mike Byte for me, it's a no, basically.
That's a no. There's Mulzam run at Cheltenham.
You never know.
Mulzam's by Cape Cross, isn't he? They love it. They're always up for it.
There you go.
Can I flag up? Now Gordon Elliott has come out and basically said Shattered Love, last year's JLT winner, will go and run in the Gold Cup. Interesting that she could have run in the novice handicap last year. She rated 144, but they said no, we're going to go for that graded contest. That shows the belief in her. She's a Grade 1 winner over 3 miles previously going into that. I know that things haven't quite gone right for her this year, and she was disappointing last time. But if you're 33-1 about her with the profile she's got, first time in the race, winning at Cheltenham last year, I think you could do worse than her in the race for me. I'm not saying she's going to go and win it, but she's got a nice profile for it. And Gordon Elliott, we know he says it's all about Cheltenham. He's another one now in that mould of really getting horses to peak at the festival. So I'd suggest she's a fair price in the race for all that. I couldn't tell you she's
Yeah, she obviously gets Mary's Lance as well, which is quite significant in championship races. Frodon, I think, is a very interesting horse, and there's a little bit of a whisper of an about turn in terms of what race he might go in.
But surely that's off the back of a Flanders Obeaux.
He's got a winning chance of the Gold Cup.
He keeps turning up and he keeps winning. It's pretty simple formula. He's in love with the game. His jumping is absolutely outstanding.
What price would you back Frodon? What price do you think is a backable price for Frodon in the Gold Cup?
He's a bigger price than Might Bite, okay, for the Gold Cup. But if you put the two of them in a match bet, okay, that like
which horse has shown more talent?
It's
on the
trees on Frodon in a match bet with Might Bite.
Well, you should have a match bet.
Well, which horse has got? Yeah, I'd be up for that.
I'm saying that's my 100% line. I don't lay
You
with
should have a Zuma.
I'm good for it.
a Zuma.
Zuma match bet.
We'll have a Zuma match bet. Frodon
Don't
and
get
Might Bite.
involved in the Zuma chat, Tom.
I'll be there. I'll just be there to
He's hangry. Be
supervise.
careful.
Don't get involved in the Zuma
You
chat.
can't miss a meal, this fella.
But Frodon's
Probably making me a bit.
Frodon's performance the last day was really good.
Yeah,
I mean, it was really, really good. And people saying, "Oh, he won't stay. He won't this." Like, how do we know he won't stay? He stayed every yard of it the last day. Like, he wasn't curling up coming up the hill. Like, it was rock solid.
And it's not that much further. The thing about the Cotswold Chase is it tends to be a poor trial because it tends to be run on testing ground, and this is a purveying issue for all of the races we've seen in December and January. Quite often the Challow will come to for the Ballywall. It's a terrible trial for it, but it tends to be run on really testing ground. It wasn't this year. The Cotswold Chase was not run on testing ground this year. So just because Frodon won a Cotswold Chase and he looked to be getting a little tired towards the end of the race, I know. But I agree. He's still got. I've backed him anti-post for the Ryanair. So I don't want him to run the Gold Cup.
Is he running in the right? If you own Frodon, I know they say, "Oh, he's the owner."
Gold Cup.
Oh, I'd rather
Gold Cup.
Yeah,
No chance he's running the Ryanair.
You could wait a lifetime to have a Gold Cup horse, and they have one. And just go for the race.
That's a fair point.
So the horse he jumps exceptionally well. He's got tactical speed, and on the basis of his last run, stays the trip. Okay, so that's the sort of ingredients you want for a horse to go for a championship race at Cheltenham. I think it would be fantastic.
He's going to get the same sort of lead that he did last time in that small field.
I don't think he is all about needing a soft lead or a lead. He just gets it because he's that quick. He's so fast. He's making against the sort of horse he's been running against. Typically, he's taking a length out of him at every fence.
And you might look at the Ryanair last year and say, well, look, when he stepped up at a handicap company at the festival last year, look what happened to him. But it's been very different this year. Paul Nicholls said immediately after his handicap win in December, it's going to be, well, he said then it will be all about the Ryanair, but it will be all about stepping up into graded company with a proper chance. He went Ascot Chase last year, didn't do that this year, went straight to Cheltenham for the Key Gold Cup trial at the end of January and won that. And I don't think you can say he's not going to see it out, but I agree. My issue with him is he good enough? No, it's not even that. It's a native river. It's his running style. It's a native river up there with him. That would be my slight concern with him.
I mean, to be honest, if he was mine, I'd run him in the Ryanair because he's got...
You'd have a Gold Cup horse,
There's travesties.
He's not going to be Altior, is he?
I think of horses like Jack Adam, right, who continuously ran in the Gold Cup despite the form book, and every shred of evidence on this earth telling us he couldn't stay the trip. Right, and so you got to run the horse run the horse in the right race first of all, okay? And this is the right race for Frodon. There's nothing that tells us it's not the right race. Bryony Frost gets on brilliant with him as well, by the way. I think that's worth highlighting.
She'd ride him in the Ryanair.
Yeah, but no, I know that, but I'm just making the point that she seems to get a really, really good tune out of him.
Absolutely. I mean, I love Frodon, but all I'm saying, he hasn't done anything that says he can win. There's nothing in his form. In a defeat of Elegant Escape in the Cotswold Chase, albeit he jumped and travelled really well, there's nothing in that says to me that's a Gold Cup winner. Whereas, okay, presenting Percy, the manner is a victory, is an easy win in the RSA. You can see why people... You can see that there's the abilities there to win a Gold Cup. Native River has proven he's got the ability to win a Gold Cup. And I know what you say about Might Bite, and he's a Scorpion, and he can easily turn it. But he's shown his hand and his abilities there to win a Gold Cup. I don't think Frodon's done anything in his career yet
He's still rated 169. On strict figures, he's still rated 169.
Surname's the best chaser in the country.
Yeah, but on the recent evidence, he is. Yeah.
I bet you would back Surname against Altior.
Stop it.
This guy is going to terrible lengths. This is actually so unprofessional. Tom, you go over into that chair. Richie, you should get out of here. I was just like...
He reeled you in good there.
He's going to such lengths.
Okay, so we'll have a match bet. You and I.
Frodon and
Mike Bite.
Yeah.
In fairness, I'm taking a dodgy horse.
Is there any other has-beens you fancy as well? We can
wherever they finish.
I eat a lot of lunches, so
I look forward to that.
But no, I just think, like you say, he hasn't achieved it, but the reality is he has an official rating of 169, which is thereabouts for a Gold Cup.